Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fans Guide to Animation podcast. It's a new year.
This is 2020.
If you've listened to us for how many years have we been doing this now?
I don't know, 3,
4, or something like that. Well, either way,
I think it's been 3. I feel like it's 3.
3.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a decade, and we're going to start a new one now. So this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with a new one. And,
I'm Daniel, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm Anthony. I've botched this up so bad already. This is what you're in for.
Yeah.
This is what you're in for.
It's been a while.
We're a little rusty. Yes, we're gonna dive in today on a little bit of a decade retrospective. Where there's been a lot of amazing movies that have been released since 2010, and it's a little tough to narrow down. But we got our lists finalized, and we're here to talk about some of our personal favorites today. And
we each have 3 that we picked since 2010. I went about it by picking 3 movies that I personally really liked, but also weren't big hits or anything, or any of the Disney Pixar stuff, because that's obvious. And 3 things we probably wouldn't do a whole episode on anyway. So it's just an opportunity for me to tell people about these maybe a little indie animated movies that I really liked, or just some that not enough people saw but are actually really good. You go first. So what is one of your favorite movies of the past 10 years?
I'll get started with arguably the most well known on my list, and that is a Disney movie that I think so many people enjoyed, and it got a sequel this decade as well. Wreck-It Ralph.
My name's Wreck-It Ralph.
I'm gonna wreck it!
30 years I've been doing this.
I can fix it!
It's hard to love your job when no one else seems to like you for doing it. If I'm really honest with myself, it sure must be nice being the good guy.
Ralph, you are a bad guy, but this does not mean you're a bad guy.
I don't want to be the bad guy anymore.
This movie was very much hyped when it was going to be released. It was just a very interesting concept of having original Disney characters with cameos from actual nostalgic video game properties. Mm-hmm. And the biggest reason why that was a big deal, of course, is we haven't had a quote-unquote, I'm doing air quotes right now, a good video game movie. And a lot of people are very intrigued, not only because Disney got the rights to random obscure or well-known video game video game characters, like anything from Street Fighter to Q*bert.
Right here, I'm Zangief, I'm bad guy.
Hi, Zangief.
Hi, Zangief. When I hit bottom, I was crushing man's skull like sparrow egg between my thighs. And I think, why do you have to be so bad, Zangief? Why can't you be more like good guy? If Zangief is good guy, who'll crush man's skull like sparrow's egg between thighs?
It was just such a random idea that there's these characters that are going to be showing up in this movie, and so many people are like, man, the possibilities with this is great. This is to have them do original characters meeting with these classic gaming characters. And not that I'm the biggest gamer or anything. I think I've mentioned that here or there, where I'm not the biggest video game person, but I can definitely appreciate it because I played those games.
Mario.
Yeah, I played Mario. I played Sonic, and I played Q*bert and stuff in arcades.
This is the retro stuff.
So this is the retro things that I at least know what they are, and I played them a few times. So, but when it came down to it, what I enjoyed thoroughly about it is what Disney usually does best, and that is making great original characters. Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope are some of my favorite Disney characters of all time now.
Oh,
I enjoy their chemistry. I enjoy their weird little brother sister vibe or something. I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, it's definitely not paternal. It's definitely
it's definitely they kind of mess with each other. They kind of just talk up and down of each other. They just kind of go with the flow of their.
Yeah, it would be real weird to. I mean, in other circumstances, an adult man and a little girl.
Yeah, that could get
best friends.
Yeah, that could be very creepy very fast.
But they're video game characters, so you kind of give it a pass.
Yeah, you give
and plus,
it a pass.
It's fine.
It's fine. It doesn't come
off
creepy.
If Disney says it's fine, it's fine.
It doesn't come off creepy at all. It comes off very genuine. There is a wonderful friendship that they have.
Hey, why are your hands so freakishly big?
I don't know. Why are you so freakishly annoying?
Well, they're both outcasts in their game, and they are
Both
characters.
weirdos, yeah.
They're both weird, and they're the bad guy, and then they're a glitch that is, it turns out she's a princess later on. If you haven't seen that or Ralph Breaks the Internet, the sequel, well, now you know. Yeah, the adventure they go on in this movie, Ralph wanting so hard to just not be just the bad guy, also just being an outcast through Vanellope's point of view, just like not being a part of her own game in a way is what they treat her as in the beginning. And just those nice little lessons that Disney always does. And I love the villain, King Candy. Spoilers. King Candy's
fun.
great.
He's a lot of fun.
He's fun. He's very much reminiscent of the Mad Hatter. Alan Tudyk, who plays the character, is great, and I just love
Alan
his voice.
Tudyk's just the best.
Like he's
in
like
everything
basically in
now.
every Disney movie now, and every
Yeah.
Star Wars thing too, or something. He's always a voice.
He's the new. What was the guy who was in all the Pixar movies?
John Ratzenberger.
Yeah, he's the new
Like,
John
he-
Ratzenberger.
Like,
Behold the Underminer! I am always beneath you, but nothing is beneath me!
but yeah,
Did you notice that when you were watching It 2, that his final form looked a lot like King Candy when he turned into the big alien?
Wow. Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
It's
It's a big old bug with a big old head.
I can play with the clouds!
John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman as those two characters of Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope, they're just near and dear to my heart. I just enjoy them a lot, and they're just funny. And even in Ralph Breaks the Internet, they continued on with the growth of that relationship and friendship that they had, which was, it was good. It definitely was a nice companion piece to this movie, but the movie as a whole was just not up there in terms of just as the
it
whole
wasn't-
story.
It
was
wasn't
just,
as good as the first one.
It almost felt like it could have been its own little. Maybe they could have made a series, to be honest, with these characters. I could watch that.
Yeah, that makes
New
more
video
sense.
games encountered every week or something. That would have been cool. But that was where a lot of
reboot.
people. Yeah. But yeah, Wreck-It Ralph was definitely more focused. It was just a very nice story about you don't have to. If you're labeled as something, you don't have to be that label. Ralph didn't have to be the bad guy. He was able to be a hero, despite everyone thinking he's just a bad guy. And then Vanellope, even though she was kind of programmed to be a glitch on purpose, when she is realized to be the princess and actually not an outcast, and she's still her humble self anyway, and she still doesn't change. Like
it's
like-
more fun being the weirdo. It's one of those Disney movies that kind of they have when they're doing an animated movie, they'll either do the princess movie or like the other movie that has like you would never expect Disney to do. Just like this, or like Zootopia, or like Emperor's New Groove. Like all these movies don't really seem like Disney movies, but Disney takes a chance every once in a while on the non-princess.
they got
stuff.
enough money now to blow on a chance to take on a movie like this. So
Which I mean, I love the princess movies. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I like it when they switch it up like this.
it's appreciated for us fans of them. So
It makes
we want them to keep making movies like this,
Yeah.
and they do once in a while. But they clearly have a formula that they want to keep track on. So
But it like gives me hope that they're actually kind of like trying still, and they're not like
there's those little pockets of groups of people that work for Disney that clearly they're like, let's tell an original story. Let's do
Like,
that for a little bit.
yeah, but like
And-
Wreck-It Ralph wasn't necessarily like a super marketable movie because it has all those other characters in
Yeah.
it like that they can't really like make merchandise of Sonic. 'cause
aside from
there's
maybe
already
a
Sonic.
couple like action figures,
They
I
didn't.
think,
They made like one
and-
video game like on the DS that nobody.
and then I think they
bought.
made a few Funko Pops at the time, and that was it. I
Yeah,
don't remember
so-
anything
So
merchandise.
it's such
for
a
Wreck-It
surprise that
Ralph.
Disney decided to do this because they're all about the merch.
Buy my book! Buy my book! Buy my book!
For this one, yeah, I'm happy they took a chance. It
Mm-hmm.
paid off. It was a successful, not as successful as some of their bigger movies like Princess stuff, but it was still good enough for them to make a sequel within this decade as well. And I'm happy for the movie to, have had a sequel, and it's just a great movie that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's real nice. All right, so my first pick is The Adventures of Tintin.
I don't think you realize this, but you're about to walk into a whole mess of danger.
Look at this. What secrets do you hold?
How could you let them escape?
name?
That's Tintin.
Have you seen that?
I still didn't see it. I'm
You haven't
sorry.
seen it? Anyway,
I
I've
need
been
to.
telling you to see this because it's actually
It looks amazing.
It's
in terms
pretty
of
great.
animation.
So it came out in 2011, so this is a while ago. And it was directed by Steven Spielberg. And most of the people listening to this podcast probably haven't seen it, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg. Like, how that doesn't make any sense, right? This is the only full-length animated movie that he's directed.
He's always just produced a bunch of cartoons, but yeah, he's never outright directed like animated
And you can
films.
definitely tell, like, it's definitely a Spielberg movie. This movie is about Tintin, who is a comic book character that started from like in the 30s or something in Europe. So that's probably why it didn't do very well.
I don't know what the global
it's not a very
money wise. I wonder how globally it did. I can't remember.
I
If it
mean,
did better overseas because it
probably,
that.
but still not good enough. I did read that they planned on a trilogy, and then the next movie was going to be directed by Peter Jackson. But yeah, I know.
Damn it! So I'm one of the people at fault that didn't get this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it in the theater either because
Oh.
I didn't know what it was about. I mean, Tintin looked kind of weird, but anyway, like I gave it a chance a couple years ago, and I was like, oh wow,
Wowie, wow, wow, wow.
like it's one of those movies. Do you remember when they used to do like the mocap movies of the animated mocap movies like this, or like Polar Express, or like one of the other Zemeckis movies? Or
so
like
creepy.
what was that, Christmas Carol? That was also one of them. And those ones never really, they're kind of weird. They're kind of uncanny valley a little bit. They tried to make them look too realistic, and
These movies are not
it was a little off-putting. But this movie, they do keep, because it's based on like characters from a comic book, they do keep the characters like stylized, so it's not distracting. I don't know, it looks like if the comic book characters were real people in real life. I don't know how to explain it, because they still have like big noses and like bigger hands and stuff
like you
like
said,
that.
they're stylized to the comic.
But the CG on this movie is like, even though it's almost 10 years old, is like flawless still. I still have not seen better like mocap anything. Like now you can't even tell like Thanos is mocap, but
I mean, yeah, it's clearly
like back then, like this was a big deal. But now it's like, this is kind of like a not every movie, like, so.
Yeah.
But considering that, like, when you learn like who the characters, like who the actors are that are playing the characters, and you never like realize that that's them like ever. So it does a good job of convincing you that these cartoons are actual people. It is so Tintin's a reporter. He solves mysteries and things like that. He has a dog named Snowy, so he's a little white terrier. So he finds like a secret message in the ship that he bought, and it turns out that's one of like 3 secret messages, and then in 3 ships that are in 3 little wooden ships that are across the world, and if you put them all together, then it leads to like the coordinates for like sunken treasure or something like that. It's pretty exciting because it's like a mix of Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. It's very that, but like the good ones. It's very fun because it's like globetrotting, and also there's like these big epic like set pieces, and the characters are fun. Andy Serkis plays the second lead, Captain Haddock, who was almost like
Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow. That's it. I can't believe I forgot that.
Ah! So you thought you could sneak in behind me and catch me with my trousers down, huh?
Rather you've kept your trousers on if it's all the same to you.
I know your game. You're one of them.
Sorry?
They sent you here to kill me, huh?
Look, I don't know who you are.
That's how he's planned to bump me off. Murdered in my bed by a baby-faced assassin.
Assassin? Look, you've got it all wrong.
And then Daniel Craig plays the villain, who's like
Wait,
this
Daniel
old.
Craig's in this movie?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So Daniel Craig plays the villain, who's this like old man, and you would never think that was Daniel Craig ever. When I was reading something, it was like one of the funnier parts is like when you imagine Daniel Craig in like this mocap like suit, just like kind of acting in like an empty room. And then Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are also like their supporting roles. They play like twins.
Mr. Silk? Yes? My name is Thompson. And Thompson. We're police officers.
So yeah, this movie is really great. Yeah, there's this one part in the middle that is like one long shot. So the villain has this bird, because obviously he has a bird, all bad guys have a bird.
Look at this! Look at this! I'm so ticked off that I'm molting!
So the bird gets hold of like the little pieces of paper that they needed. So they're chasing him around, and they're on like a car chase, and they go through, I think it's like in this Middle Eastern town, and them going through the entire city, and them destroying buildings, and them going down a river, and it's very exciting, and it's great. That's probably the best part of the movie, but the entire movie is pretty entertaining. And yeah, it's very Spielberg.
To do a one shot, to do it in animation, it has to be very tasking.
Yes. I actually I saw a like a behind the scenes kind of thing. So when you think about what they had to have done, like animation wise, they would have had to make the whole city, and then all the people and all the background things that are in there, they would have to make that, and then all of the physics for everything. So they basically had to make everything like as if it was real. They couldn't like section off anything. They had to make the whole thing because it had to travel throughout the whole environment.
Think about a video game. You can only have so many textures, so many characters on the screen at the same time because there's only a certain amount of memory in your computer. When it comes to 3D animation, you can usually access more of your computer's memory, but there's still only a limited amount of memory in your computer. So how do you have a world that has 100 characters in it, 1,000 buildings, 800 physics simulations with smoke and water and all that kind of stuff, fountains all over the place, clothing simulations all over the place? Like, how do you bring that all together in one shot? And that's one of the most technically impressive things about this, is that it's element after element after element all being set up individually and then being brought together in what looks like one long shot.
The special effects and the technological advancements that we've gotten from this movie is crazy, and then you realize that like nobody's seen it. It's like how
Well, that hopefully will change. I know I need to see it now.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Sounds great. In terms of a nice classic adventure film, that sounds great.
Oh, yeah, great.
What's another one of yours that you want to talk about?
My second movie I wanted to talk about, if anything, I know it's also probably fairly known by this point, especially for Halloween time. Everybody loves Halloween, and everybody enjoys a good scary movie or just something in terms of Halloween, just something a little spooky and stuff like that. And my movie is Paranorman.
Meet Norman.
Can't you be like other kids your age?
His parents don't get him.
He's probably up there fiddling with his Ouija or his orb.
Harry.
His sister doesn't like him.
You are such a loser.
And the kids at school
Look, it's Abnorman.
always pick on him. But he does have some friends.
Norman, wait up. I like to be alone. So do I. Let's do it together.
It's just that most of them
Good morning.
aren't exactly alive.
The Leica movie that, like movies like, Kubo and Coraline, they get recognition and they are spoken of for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like also like Paranorman kind of dropped off the radar a little bit. I think a lot of people definitely knew about it when it was released, and I think there was definitely talk of it. It was definitely I guess if you want to call it a nice Halloween classic already, like a modern one. And then it just dropped off after a couple years.
The movie doesn't really take place on Halloween, does it?
No, it does not. It's just like a very Halloween-centric movie that
it's got ghosts and zombies.
Ghosts,
and
zombies, witches. It's got all the classic Halloween stuff in there, but it just doesn't take place in Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much Halloween adjacent.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess that's what you could say. It's Halloween adjacent. Everybody looks like they're in the fall, I guess.
I don't
know how to say it, but I mean, while it's definitely known, it still feels like it's not spoken of very often when it comes to like movies. Like everybody can talk about Hotel Transylvania or like Nightmare Before Christmas, and people love those movies. So don't wince at that. Like people love those movies. There's 3 of them now. Like,
I know, but it's like
there's going to be a 4th one. So
it's all right. It's fine, but I don't know. I don't think it's that good.
I do not say blah, blah, blah.
This is where I guess they can definitely have that argument where stop motion, for whatever reason, doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
Yeah, it's
like,
still weird.
You have your once in a while breakouts like Nightmare Before Christmas, and even that was technically a bomb.
Yeah,
but it grew such a huge following. It went from a cult following to...
It wasn't until like the 2000s that it actually started.
Yeah, where all the special edition DVDs started popping up again. And to Paranorman, the basic gist of the film is that, again, you kind of deal with a kid who's a bit of an outcast, but more a loner, I guess, not an outcast. He's more of a loner because he is different. He sees ghosts, and he sees all these types of creatures around him, and nobody really believes him. He's just kind of made fun of, just dealing with like being that loner character. And he's got one friend. He's got that little chubby friend.
I love him.
I forget his name. Dang it!
God.
I should have double checked.
I love that kid.
But
he's
that kid was
adorable.
hilarious and funny, and like his best friend sidekick character that he's got to follow him on his adventure.
Hey, what's the big deal?
Don't get your bra in a twist, fat boy. This has nothing to do with you, so keep out of my way.
Or what?
Or, I'll punch you in the boobs.
I don't have boobs. These are pectorals. Ow, my boobs!
Because there is a creepy old man that follows him. Turns out to be his great uncle, and he's played by John Goodman, which was great. Like
always knocks it out of the park with their casting. Like,
yeah, essentially he was the last protector of this witch spirit. He has to be that person that keeps this witch spirit asleep, and he's not doing so well in this movie. He's falling ill more and more. Eventually, the next in line to do the protecting and trying to keep this spirit asleep is technically Norman. He is that next person in line. That's why he's kind of stalking him. Yeah, again, a lot of people don't take him seriously when this kind of apocalypse happens to their town. His uncle dies, and then from there he can't clearly keep the spirit at rest anymore. Yeah, and that's what he's just like, well, what do I do now? And then all hell is breaking loose.
Yeah, so then
zombies come out from this as well.
Yeah.
Time is running out. The anniversary of the witch's death is tonight. A ghost is going to wake up, and when she does, she'll raise the dead.
There's a lot in this movie. Like, it's just, there's a lot. But that's the basic gist of it, that Norman now has to find a way to put this spirit to rest. And the spirit is of a little girl who was a witch from back in the olden times of Salem and all that stuff.
The ending of this movie is great.
Where it's almost like another world that he enters when he's up against this little girl who's very angry and very upset because, well, rightly so, this little girl who was told that she was like, well, we're going to burn you alive because you're a witch. And they did that to her. These random judges and people from back then killed her for being a witch. One of the biggest things is just listening to someone, I guess, because no one had the time of day to really listen to that little girl. They just accused her of being a witch, burned her alive, or whatever they did to her. You feel sympathetic towards the zombies, kind of, because they realize their mistakes because they're undead now.
Yeah,
at some point. It was a little.
They could have just been like evil zombies, and then they stopped
which is
them.
how they played it. How the movie went on.
And then at the end, when you realize they realized they did something terrible to this little girl back then, and they conveyed that in like a zombie face.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how the hell did they do that?
Why did you do it?
We were scared
Of what?
of her. I believed we were doing what was right. I was wrong. Now this is our punishment. We thought we knew our way in life, but in death, we are lost. Please, help us.
Wow.
And you feel genuinely sad by the end, especially the climax. Like, I had a tear in my eye when I saw it in the theater. It was just like, that's so damn heartbreaking. Like, no one listened to her. She was just filled with this anger. And when he finally took the time to speak with her, to understand what happened, and what they even did to her mom as well, and stuff like that, there was just so much in that last 10 minutes where all of it was just a lot. Along the way, you have a bit of adventure. His parents come along, as well as his sister, played by Anna Kendrick. She was pretty funny. Casey Affleck was also pretty funny as the muscly dude, just that jock type character.
Who was the little factoid? He was the first openly gay animated character in a movie ever.
And that shocked so many people.
It came out in 2012?
Yeah, it came out 2012
8
as well.
years ago?
So I was thinking maybe we could catch a movie sometime. Nothing scary.
That sounds great, Kathy. You're gonna love my boyfriend. He's like a total chick flick nut.
And for a movie that has a lot going on, and I know it's definitely tough to have narrowed down the story, but it has a nice enough message kind of that, just listening out to people and not just ignoring them, or to not bully people as well. That's definitely something it has towards the Norman character. And
just be kind.
Yeah, just be kind. And then there's even the whole idea of the spirits, and so there's that too. Just remembering
it's also
loved ones.
Don't judge people, I guess, based on their appearance or something, because the whole townspeople really wanted to kill the zombies.
Yeah, there was that too.
And then when you find out,
it sounds like a lot.
Just trying to talk to people.
Yeah, they're trying to warn them of what could happen. With that whole apocalypse on the verge of things happening, and it kind of does anyway. But
so just be kinder to people, because you don't understand what they're going.
Don't grab a torch and pitchfork and try to kill a zombie next time. Just don't do that.
It's a monster! Kill it! Kill it!
It's not a monster. It's Mr. Burns.
Oh, it's Mr. Burns. Kill it! Kill it!
I think this movie in particular really established how good Leica is. By now, we all know they're the best in the game. But I mean, Coraline was good, but visually, it's about what you'd expect from a stop motion movie. But in this one, it really did step it up. They did incorporate a lot more CGI, I think. So I don't think they did very much of that in Coraline. But anyway, but this one in particular,
it felt like its own thing, and that's what I loved about it.
And they had an entire town in stop motion.
Yeah,
and it's not with other stop motion movies. You can tell they make certain sets, and then they just film it from different portions of that set. To save money, because obviously stop motion movies, you can't make 1 billion sets, because
it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, but they make whole an entire town, and the ending
I still don't know how they did it. Clearly CGI and a mix of little sets, but
and then the ghosts, stop motion ghost, how do you make a stop motion puppet see through, and how do you make the physics for a ghost in stop motion? I don't know.
I mean, they did it because a lot of those ghosts look pretty floaty to me. I don't know how they did it, but I do know it's definitely an overlooked movie. I think it should still be in the running to always be seen around Halloween time, with your Nightmare Before Christmases and stuff.
So yeah, Paranorman's great.
So what's your second movie?
So my second movie is another stop motion movie, Pirates, Band of Misfits.
I remember that movie.
Did you see it?
No, but I do know.
Nobody did.
But I do know, it's made by the people of Aardman, right?
Yeah, Aardman, the guys who do Wallace and Gromit. They made that movie.
Hoist the flag! Let's fill his chest with sparkling booty. Yeah!
He's not the greatest pirate captain.
I'm here for your gold.
Gold? This is a ghost ship.
And they're not the finest crew. But this is their big chance.
The Pirate of the Year awards.
Every time I've entered, I've failed to win, so I must have a really good chance this time.
To turn it all around.
Sorry.
It's great. I always like the Aardman movies. I haven't seen the last one. What was it?
It was
something.
It was
I want to say Year One, but that's definitely the Michael Cera movie. Curse of the Were Rabbit's really good. I really like that movie.
That was
Chicken
a fun
Run.
movie.
Chicken Run's really good. The Shaun the Sheep movie is actually surprisingly good.
Still haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And I've heard good things about the Pirates movie though. It looked fun.
The Pirates movie. I think it's in particular. It's funny just because Aardman. They know how to make a good comedy, but it's really impressive that they were able to, because it's a period piece, because it takes place in the 1800s. So there's a lot of elaborate piratey costumes, and there's a lot of interiors that are very Victorian-y, and cobblestone streets and industrial London and things like that they had to replicate in stop motion. So they had to build the sets and the puppets and all of that, and they're very detailed. Which is really impressive. But
I think what I've always appreciated of them is that somehow they always look like clay figures.
Yeah, they use
compared to
different.
most, what Leica does, everything looks very not realistic, but you can definitely tell they push more realism in their figures and puppets. But Aardman always has its signature like claymation style to them.
Yeah, they use
little bulgy and bulky in a way to the faces and just the bodies.
Yeah, they use the multiple plastic instead of like where Leica uses those like face replacement things.
Right.
But yeah, in particular, the Pirates movie is like actually pretty. It's like it's not piratey like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like you don't get very many like swashbuckly moments. It's more like a bunch of like pirate jokes. like corny pirate jokes like in a row. So the main pirate, his name is just Pirate Captain. None of the pirates have names. His name is Pirate Captain, and it's played by Hugh Grant.
It's not all about me.
Don't be
No. Behind every captain with glittering eyes and a luxuriant beard. The crew of briny rose. Sure, some of you are as ugly as a sea cucumber.
You get away with it.
Some of you are closer to being a chair or coat track than a pirate. And some of you are just fish I've dressed up in a hat.
And here, let me. They don't give them names, but there's one that.
Did they just literally say pirate number 1 and number 2?
No, there's a.
Not that bland. Okay. All right.
There's the pirate with the scarf.
Pirate with the scarf.
Yeah, which is his number 2, which is played by Martin Freeman. And then there's the pirate with gout.
Pirate with.
Yeah, and then there's a pirate with 2 peg legs, a peg arm, and a peg nose. There's one that's an albino. There's one that's obviously a woman cross-dressing as a man so that way she could be a pirate. And then there's...
They actually call her this.
I think it's the surprisingly curvaceous pirate or something like that. And then his parrot is actually not a parrot, it's just a dodo that's real fat. And yeah, they don't do pirate things very well. And he wants to win the Pirate of the Year award this year. Because there's an award.
Have awards.
Yeah, because there's an award show, and then the Pirate King, he awards the Pirate of the Year to the pirate with the most booty. Yeah. They try and board some ships to get some money, but they get a ship with just lepers, who obviously don't have money. And then there was another ship where it was just a school trip, so it was like just a bunch of kids. And then they ended up on this ship of scientists. One of them being Charles Darwin, played by David Tennant, who is great in pretty much everything he does.
Journal of Charles Darwin, day 93 aboard the Beagle. I have today discovered a new kind of barnacle. I'll never get a girlfriend. I am so unhappy.
That's kind of where the plot actually starts, because the dodo, like his parrot, is extinct at that point in history. So this is the last dodo. The one way that they can make the money is if they win the Scientist of the Year competition, by showing off the last remaining dodo. And yeah, that gets the attention of the Queen Victoria, who I think historically did not really hated pirates, but she's actually the villain of the movie. So she's kind of crazy and she hates pirates and she loves exotic animals and she wants to eat the dodo. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, this movie kind of goes all over the place. Nothing piratey. It's just all kind of like weird circumstantial stuff. But yeah, it
definitely sounds like their type of humor, like when it comes down to it. Like if you think about other movies from them, like, Chicken Run and stuff, that's essentially a breakout movie. And it's not really just about chickens. It's just and seeing their life on a farm.
Yeah,
it's
right.
about them breaking out and
yeah.
trying to live and not die. So in this case, you think it's going to be a movie about pirates, but no, it's just them trying to win a contest. Like it's a bit of a bait and switch thing, but I mean, I vaguely remember the marketing for it, and I thought, oh shoot, another Aardman movie, but it's again one of those things that wasn't. I don't think it was really that big of a release either. I think it definitely came and went. Also,
yeah, just like with the Tintin movie, Americans don't really like European stuff. They just don't. So anything like British, they don't care.
And I'm proud to be an American.
I mean, it's not even like obviously like British humor. Like this one's like more fantastical because
not
it's like pirates.
Deep cut like British humor where it's so dry or something.
Yeah. I mean, there is a bit of that, but like obviously there's like some sight gags and some like flopping around and stuff like that.
So I guess maybe in a way it's something like Monty Python.
It's almost like Monty Python meets a Spaceballs kind of thing. Like it's like a nice medium between like Mel Brooks and Monty Python a little bit. But yeah, it's great. I think it should be recognized more than it is. I don't think I've ever heard one person talk about this movie.
I don't think so. Like, I wouldn't think so. That's a bummer. And I think Aardman deserves better. Unless they make another Wallace and Gromit movie. I think the Were-Rabbit movie did okay back when it got released. I think that's because Wallace and Gromit's more known. They're classic characters.
I think Were-Rabbit won that year, didn't it?
I thought it did.
And I think it won Best Animated Movie that year. But yeah, Aardman does great stuff, and just like Laika, they
know what they're doing, and it's a shame that nobody watches them. I don't know why that is though, because people know. I mean, this is the thing that always like kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit, because the internet has that wonderful power to share things, you know, and it just things can get more well known over time with the power of the internet. If people, the small groups of people that do talk about these things. And I mean, I guess we can kind of consider ourselves that small part, you know, just kind of talking about this here on our show and talking about it. Hopefully it'll spread more awareness to see some of these titles that we're talking about today. But like, so go see the Pirates movie, people.
Please go see Pirates. It's great. So what's your last movie?
My last movie, we're going to dive in, drumroll, we're going to dive into the DC universe. Back in 2010.
The Disuniverse.
The Disuniverse.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Back in 2010, I think that's around the time where they were really starting to ramp this up. They were really starting to put out like a couple movies a year or every other year.
Yeah, it used to be like maybe one a year, maybe.
Or like one every other year. And then they started like this decade, like DC like just put out a ton of stuff. I can't even begin to name every title or anything, but like shit, they made so many movies this decade, and
like half of them are Batman. At least like 3/4 of them are Batman movies at this point. Yeah.
And I had to go with the one that kind of got me in there. Like DC animated movies have started like when the whole Batman the Animated Series that kind of started with Mask of the Phantasm. I guess if you want to say that's where the continued universes started, you know, because they of course were made after that movie. They made more television shows and spin-offs. But then they kept going. They kept pushing more original movies. Like Wonder Woman was released like around 2008. Around 2010, I can tell, is when they really started pushing more and more that this is the thing. They're going to make their own other universe, but more based off of, I think, most of them are based more off the New 52 era of comic books. And I wasn't the biggest fan of that.
No.
Yeah, and some of it doesn't work. Some of them are great, though. Some of them are good. You know, I can't dock every movie or anything, but the one that kind of brought me to the party, and I was just like, okay. And while it's not based around the New 52 stuff, it's definitely its own thing, and that is Batman Under the Red Hood. This movie, to me, as far as DC movies go, is up there with Mask of the Phantasm or Return of the Joker. It just has that punch to the gut feeling of, damn, this shit is heavy. And that's what I think Batman really has, is that moment of heaviness that, not so much that it needs drama or anything, but that's kind of what Batman is. There's a lot of heavy subjects of morality that are thrown at you. It started off with a bang with really pushing this, the idea of Batman's code. Because this was dealing with the death of Jason Todd, and that was like one of the biggest failures for Batman.
Yeah, it's one of the big, like, it's one of the more important storylines, and like, well,
just
lore.
Everything. Yeah, just lore, mythos, whatever. Like, it's
this thing is like a before and an after kind of thing. Like when Jason Todd was killed.
And it starts off with that, you know, and it kind of fast forwards through that. Once it gets down to it.
Yeah, I remember. That part was rough.
it was hard to watch because they actually, this is PG-13, kids. Got some violence in here. You see blood and stuff, and you see Joker beating on Jason Todd, and it's fucking, it's uncomfortable.
Okay, kiddo, I gotta go. It's been fun though, right? Well, maybe a smidge more fun for me than you. I'm just guessing since you're being awful quiet. Anyway, be a good boy, finish your homework, and be in bed by 9. And hey, please tell the big man I said hello.
And you get the gist of this is his death. This is just not good. And you see that weighed down on Batman for that initial moment. And when they fast forward to a mysterious character that was the Red Hood, and he's starting to do his own works of vigilanteism. Is that a word? I don't know. He's downright killing people. Even though they're bad people, but he's still killing. And that clearly goes against what Batman has stood for many years at this point in this version of him. More and more, there's more hints of realizing who that person is. And big shock, Jason Todd is the Red Hood.
What a twist!
It all kind of leads down to one of the most intense exchanges of morality and just this very bleak outlook of life from Jason Todd's perspective versus Batman, pushing him to give him that option to kill the Joker right in front of them so he can end this evil. But Batman still expresses to him, no.
Ignoring what he's done in the past. Blindly, stupidly disregarding the entire graveyards he's filled. You know, I thought I'd be the last person you'd ever let him hurt. If it had been you that he'd beat to a bloody pulp, if he had taken you from this world, I would have done nothing but search the planet for this pathetic pile of evil death-worshipping garbage and send him off to hell.
You don't understand. It'd be too damned easy. All I've ever wanted to do is kill him. But if I do that, if I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
It's real intense.
It's like it's never left my mind when it comes to when I think like top 5 and most intense Batman moments. That is like top 5 easily for me. And I just remember the performances in that moment as well were so good. The one who stole the show for me, though, John DiMaggio as Joker.
Yeah.
So underrated. He's so good. Yeah, you can tell it's him, but it's so good. And I'm just like,
he's
why?
a real good actor.
Like, why have they not called him back to do that?
I'm sorry, could you hold on? I was just in the middle of setting fire to your gang.
That is an essence of Joker. He can make some of those really bleak, just awful jokes, but that's him. There's so much good in this in terms of the performances, the morality, the dilemmas that happen with Batman's code. Jason Todd feeling betrayed because essentially, it's that biggest failure that he basically just, he failed to save him. And it's tragic, and it's filled with action, and it's what more could you want out of a Batman story?
All right, so my last one is a movie called Loving Vincent. Well, it came out in 2017. It's about Vincent van Gogh. It is pronounced Van Gogh, and don't at me because that's actually how it's pronounced.
So every art history teacher I ever had said it incorrectly. That's interesting.
What about math?
No, not important.
Anyway, it's about his last. Okay, so if you don't know, Vincent van Gogh did kill himself, and it wasn't until after his death when his work became popular, and now he's like looked at as one of the best painters in the history of the world. So it dives into exploring his last days.
Vincent van Gogh killed himself?
How does a man go from calm to suicidal in 6 weeks?
So, what brings you to over there?
I want to do something for Vincent.
You're not going to stir things up again, are you? You've had quite enough weeping over that nutcase.
His neighbours and the police
Get out of
and the whole town against an ill man.
Vincent, what have you done?
We all knew something was very wrong.
Vincent! Did he change his mind? Did he want to live after all?
You want to know so much about his death, but what do you know of his life?
And what's particularly interesting about this movie is that every frame in it is hand painted like a painting.
I think it's coming back to me now. I think I remember seeing at least a preview of it.
like with a normal animated movie, every frame is kind of made and drawn out, usually on a computer these days. But I guess everything is technically painted. Especially in the old days, they did have to paint the cells. But these were actual like full-sized paintings that they had to do of pretty much every scene, and they animated them all like that. Like every painting is just another frame.
So
and
like canvas pieces, essentially?
Yep.
Shit.
Yeah. So every single frame in this movie, like you could pause it and it's literally a painting. So there are 65,000 frames in this movie, and there were 125 painters who worked on this movie for 4 years in order to get this thing done. So yeah, it's they didn't make 65,000 individual paintings, because they would paint it and then they would take the picture and then they would like scrape off some of the painting and they would like
Just
move
kinda
it a little bit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, like they're all literal paintings that somebody had done. So the way that they did it is they filmed the actors like in their full costume and all of that on a green screen, and then they did CG animators came in and then they put in everything, the rest of the scene, because the art style of the paintings matches the art style of Van Gogh. So all of the backgrounds and everything, and all of the way the clothes and everything looks, it looks like how he would have painted things. And it even has like specific scenes like take place from his from specific paintings that he did. Yeah, it's really beautiful. So that part of it is really is just noteworthy, because I'm pretty sure is the only full length movie to be animated with paintings.
Many people told us a fully painted feature film would be impossible, and we should do it in the computer instead. But Dorota knew it had to be painted to give the right feeling and be as true as possible to both the spirit and to the actual execution of Vincent's work. The movement will be provided by a combination of live action for the actors, combined with visual effects and CG animation. Then we will have specialist oil painters who can concentrate on being faithful to Vincent's brushstrokes and colours.
The animation obviously is one of the highlights of this movie, but I also like this movie because it deals with the whole mental health thing. Van Gogh did have severe depression, and it kind of goes into, it's almost like a detective story where this guy, he's the son of one of Van Gogh's friends, and he had killed himself not too long ago, and he has his last letter and he's trying to give it to his brother, so he's trying to find the person, but his brother also died, so he's trying to find some people, and then he starts interviewing people that saw him last just to find out why he did what he did and what happened exactly. And it starts to play like a murder mystery kind of thing where it's not exactly historically accurate. They kind of flubbed some stuff
I'm sure they took some liberties to make the story interesting.
Yeah, so it kind of implies that he might have been murdered, but it also kind of like shines a light on like what it is like to have severe depression. And even though like 6 weeks ago he said he was doing really great, then why did he do what he did? And yeah, that part of it is pretty interesting, because you see a lot of the characters not really understand why he did it, because it doesn't make sense. But this kind of thing does happen. It also deals with being an artist, and when just like the topic of Van Gogh, like in general, like it gave you some facts at the end of the movie. He only painted for 8 years total, and he started kind of late, and he made 800 paintings total. So that's like one painting on average, like every 3 days. And he only sold, do you know how many he actually sold like in his lifetime? If you were to guess.
I studied him briefly in school, and I don't remember the number. I remember it was not very high though.
It's one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
He only ever sold one painting while he was alive. So
I don't blame him for being depressed on that too.
Yeah, this isn't like common or an uncommon thing. Like a lot of artists, even like literally like the best artists, like one of the best artists to like ever exist, they're just not recognized. And sometimes people just don't care. and you can't really make them care. And that's hard to like rationalize in your head when you know what you're doing is good, but nobody cares, or nobody is telling you, or you're never getting any proof that what you're doing is worthwhile, and it feels like you're wasting your time and you're wasting your life. And that's the reality for a lot of artists. Yeah,
for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and not just like art, like fine arts, but like music wise, like there's a million musicians in the world, like, and
not all of them can be famous for whatever their type of music is, or they. Yeah, it's definitely like that. Damn, I definitely need to see this movie now too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that whole idea, I know that's definitely like a whole other thing, but yeah, that whole idea of not just a starving artist, but an artist that goes ignored because X amount of reasons, whether they don't have a platform to advertise themselves better, whether they don't have, or heck, some people out there in the world just don't have the money for their supplies to make their work or create their music or whatever they may do. So there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that have so many difficult tasks to deal with when creating what they want to create. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but at least I guess the positive you can take out of this too is that despite if when he was living he felt he didn't make much of an impact, maybe if you believe in this sort of thing, hopefully he knows now in some spiritual way maybe that he made an impact to a lot of people in the world. So
yeah, because at least the way they talk about him in the movie, I'm assuming that's accurate. Yeah, he was a really good guy. He was like really nice, and he helped people a lot. And just when you think like he dedicated pretty much the last years of his life to doing what he loved doing, but that's also what drove him to do what he did, is just like heartbreaking. But like you said, like now I guess the world kind of realizes like how important his work is to the bigger,
not just a contribution to history. Not just his art, but his history. Like he's created clearly he's had such an impact to so many people, historians or artists or whatever you like to consider yourself, that he clearly made an impact to so many out in the world now. So yeah, as an artist, I see that too. I can only hope to have just like a scraping of the surface of an impact as as an artist. So, but at the end of the day, you you just create because you love it, and that's at least what he did, despite the outcome.
He did what he loved up until the day he died, and it drove him crazy. But I guess that's kind of the chance you take. So that's what we're gonna end on. Great. I should have probably rearranged that around a little bit. So, yeah, the last 10 years are really when I started paying attention to animated stuff.
It just flew by.
So there are definitely a lot from these past 10 years that I appreciate more now than I did when I first saw them. Or like smaller movies because when I went and looked at a bunch of the ones that I've been wanting to see, a lot of them, obviously, like I've seen all the Disney ones and the Pixar ones, and even like a lot of the bigger ones, like the DreamWorks ones or whatever. But you kind of see all these little like independent animated movies. A lot of them come from like France, or like France makes a lot of really good animated movies actually.
After all, miss, this is France.
But in that their styles are so different, and then the stories are like serious sometimes, they're more adult, and that you can still get funding and make an animated movie on just those kinds of stories as well, because the only ones you hear about are the ones that are directed towards kids. But that's not necessarily the case if you just dive a little bit, and it's kind of like that's kind of encouraging,
Yeah, just try to do your best to do, find a way to seek them out.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure some of them are a little difficult to find.
Yeah, the animation field isn't just for kids. It definitely is. There's definitely stuff in there for everybody. You just kind of have to look a little bit, but yeah, I've really gotten to appreciate it more recently.
Despite all the good things, we to briefly cover the bad stuff, we have to at least appreciate those, because we realize, don't do that. Don't make Despicable Me Minions movies like 10 times over.
Ba 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 na na. Ba 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 na na.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
And then we just had like a movie like Klaus, like that just came out, and like that makes me like hopeful. Like this next, like now, like things are gonna. And Spider-Verse just came out too.
Yeah, and they're
like,
gonna make a sequel this decade as well. So
yeah, so
hopefully,
like it does seem like animation's getting like more. I don't know.
They're
like,
letting some chances.
Yeah, like they're
some of these
they're taking
movies,
some
like,
chances, and it's starting to pay off. So I feel like from now on, it's still gonna start changing a little bit, and it's gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be a noticeable change, and
Let's
it's
just
gonna be
hope
for the
we
good.
just don't have too many reboots and just remakes of. I'm still terrified they're just gonna keep like making too many reboots or whatever the heck. I don't even know what to call them anymore. I don't know what this decade will have in store, but I know at least hopefully, yeah, things will be going into a better direction. Maybe some more 2D stuff. But there's clearly money to take a chance with some of these movies, like something like Klaus or something. You know, like with stop motion stuff, like anything Leica's doing, like that's all we.
So yeah, I'm hopeful for this next decade in animation, and I'm excited. All right, so this was our first episode of the new year. So I don't know what the rest of the end of the year is gonna have, but we'll figure it out. So I'm Daniel. That is Anthony, and Happy New Year.
Yeah,
even though
Happy New Year.
By the time this comes out, it was like that was like 2 months ago or something.
Yeah,
But whatever. Yeah, I'm still saying it. And yeah, we'll see you in the on the next episode.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.